Well, let me call us to order, as they say, and thank you all very much for coming this evening. Let me introduce the other members of the Board of Governors who are with us today to hear from you. Marilyn Kelly is here, Mike Basuito, and Shirley Stancato. Thank you for coming. This is our fourth event. The Faculty Senate hosted an event, the Student Senate hosted an event, and the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion hosted an event. We found these to be very informative, and we are very appreciative for your time in coming tonight to share your views. Thank you to Susan Burns and her staff at the Foundation and the Alumni Association. Thank you to Stacy Clayton and Patrick Lindsay from the Government and Community Relations Department. We find these sessions very valuable. They are being videotaped. I am told by the search firm that the candidates find these very valuable as well. So you'll be speaking not only to everyone who calls us up on the website, but in many cases you'll be speaking directly to, well, not directly, indirectly to some of the candidates as well. We've got an email address if you want to send us comments in the future, you think of something later. That's search@wayne.edu, just the word search at wayne.edu. We have a website now, bog.wayne.edu/presidential search. No space, presidential search. bog.wayne.edu/presidential search. That's where the video of this meeting will be. We have chosen a search firm, Whitkiefer. They're a national firm. They have a lot of experience with us. They helped us choose the provost. They recently helped us choose our Dean of Engineering, and they have helped us choose recently our Dean of the Business School. There are some search committee members here this evening, and I'd like to point them out to you. Linda Beal, the president of the Faculty Senate, is here. Eva DeWalsh, representing the community, is here. David Mazaran, Executive Vice President of Finance. Dean Bierschbach from this building and this school. And Dean John Corvino is here. So thank all of you for coming tonight to hear firsthand what these good folks have to say. We expect we'll be interviewing candidates with the assistance of that search firm in January, February, and March. We'd like to have an individual chosen by May, and we would certainly like to have that individual aboard and working with us by fall term next year. Let me now introduce Jim Anderson, an alumnus of Wayne State, one of the university's most generous donors. Thank you. Chair of the College of Engineering Board of Visitors and chair of the Wayne State University Foundation Board. His company, Urban Science, was founded through innovation that he created while he was here at Wayne State University as a graduate student. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mark. And thank the audience for attending. I'd also like to thank Mark and the Presidential Search Committee for partnering with the Wayne State University Foundation and the Alumni Association on such a vital component of the search for the university's 13th president. For many of you, you have been attached to Wayne State for a while. I can say with certainty that I have been associated with Wayne State in one form or another for 59 years. First as an undergraduate student, then a graduate student, then an engineering faculty member, and finally a loyal alumnus serving on multiple engineering advisory boards and the university committees, including the Wayne State Foundation, and most recently, the foundation chairman. I can say with certainty that had I not come to Wayne State, I wouldn't be where I am today in this great city or have anything like the dreams of mine that have come true because I went to Wayne State. I have known and worked with several Wayne State presidents and college deans over the decades. And I know firsthand that the education we get at Wayne State prepares us to invent our future and make our dreams come true. According to the American Council of Education, the top two areas that occupy college presidents' time are financial management and fundraising. They also inspire alumni engagement with the university. They encourage donors to support key initiatives, the strategic plan, and the mission of the university. And finally, they build relationships with leadership donors and the corporate and foundation communities. I welcome the opportunity to provide my input from my broad experience at Wayne State to continue to make Wayne State the place of opportunity for all students to get a good education and make their dreams all come true in this great country in which we all live. With that said, I'll turn the meeting now over to Stacy Clayton.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, let me see. Okay. Can you hear me okay? Okay, all right. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Division of the Government and Community Affairs, welcome to this presidential listening session. As Mr. Anderson said, if it wasn't for Wayne State, I don't think I would actually be sitting here in this chair right now, not because I actually work here as Director of Community Affairs, but Mr. Anderson just reminded me, I'm a double grad of Wayne State, and when I was an undergraduate student working in the political science department, majoring in political science, it was from there that I got my first internship working with the city of Detroit in the office of, at that time, Detroit City Councilwoman Brenda Jones, Barbara Rose Collins. And that started me on my career, my love for government, led me on to some great opportunities and brought me full circle back here to working at Wayne State. So just wanted to lift that up as well. As I said, I'm Stacy Clayton, Director of Community Affairs and a proud double graduate of Wayne State. Thank you, Chair Gaffney, the other board members for hosting this evening session for those who are working or otherwise obligated during the day. Thank you to all of our community members who are here. Thank you to members of the President's Community Advisory Group who I see here, some of our distinguished alumni who are here, Reverend Peak, who is featured in the Fall 2022 Warrior magazine that is hot off the presses. So please, and we also have an electronic version that some of you should have received. We also have been joined, I see, by former Detroit City Council President, another alum of Wayne State University, Brenda Jones. And it's very fitting that I started my professional career at the city of Detroit working for then Councilwoman Barbara Rose Collins, and I ended working for former President Brenda Jones. So thank you very much for being here as well. And again, thank you to all the community members who are here. Your being here indicates that you understand the role that Wayne State plays in the community and the importance of our next president understanding that role as well. We are an educational institution, an employer, a purchaser, economic developer, and most importantly, we are a significant community partner. President Wilson has been outstanding during his tenure and embraced the city and our community, so much that when he received recognition from the Detroit City Council a few weeks ago, he said when he steps down, he actually plans to buy a house in the city. So we're going to hold him to that. The goal is to find another president who understands and has that much passion for the city of Detroit and the surrounding community. Your input tonight is vital because it's going to help frame the search for our next president of this great institution. Thank you again very much for being here.
Thank you, Stacy. We've been joined by Board of Governors member Dana Thompson as well. Hi, Dana. Thank you for coming over. So here's how this works. You talk, we listen. And if you don't talk, it doesn't work. So let me, and we don't have numbered seats or any instructions for how to come to the microphone. So please just do so at your convenience and in order. Yes, and if you'd prefer, we can bring the mic to you, but
Nope.
that requires us to move the cameras so that either way will work.
Anyway, so my name is Otto Music. I'm from pediatrics, and I've been here for 25 years. I kind of witnessed the up and down. Obviously, Children's Hospital was one of the premier places in the nation 15 years ago. Now it's completely disappeared from the face of the earth. And we don't even know if we get approved as a medical school because we don't have any functional pediatrics. Anyway, whatever happened, happened. Now, this is actually why I'm here. I'm usually not coming to these sessions, but I think this is very important because this decision to get a new president, it's going to be for the next 10 years deciding. If we don't make this right, we lose another decade. That's actually my thing. Now, I want to make it really brief and very to the point. I think what we need, and looking at the past, mistakes were made because we farmed it out to a consulting company who came with beautiful CVs of people from Stanford, Harvard, Massachusetts General Hospital, which were very qualified, but didn't fit actually the profile of Detroit. Wayne State University is a urban university, is a small university, it's not U of M, it's not a Big Ten school. We have our limitation. It needs to be somebody who actually understands this dynamic, doesn't have flights or fancy that, we're going to make it the Harvard of the Midwest. We are Wayne State, and, we should be proud of it, and we have a certain vision. So somebody, I would like to see somebody chosen who is from the Midwest, who is from Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, who actually understands what is particular about the Midwest. That's number one. And actually a good example is Dean Zucker. Zucker was here, actually he was a candidate before we got Schweitzer. And, we said, Zucker, he was here. Let's get somebody fancy from New York and, see where we got with that. This guy was here because he understands the situation. He worked with Tenet. He worked with the Detroit Medical Center. He understood the dynamic. So we need somebody who actually understands it, number one. Number two is that we need somebody who actually comes back and understands what the university is for. University is for to make people better, not to make money. I mean, fiscal responsibility is good, and we all want fiscal responsibility, but that's not our primary goal. Our primary goal to really provide for the next generation to make them better people and not to just look at, how much money did we make? And if I look at Wayne State and everything people talk about is, how much grant money did we make? How was tuition? That's important, but not as important. We need to come back, go away from this business model of academia, business model of politics, where the customer is king and we deliver him whatever the customer wants, we're going to give it to him. We want something that we go back to the roots and say, we need somebody who actually has a vision that academia is important, that providing for the next generation, no matter what it costs, is like, this is our mission, and let's make it work with the money we have, not the other way. Make money, and then we're going to education as a secondary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Who is next?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Lonnie Peak. I have been with this university since 1967. So that's what, 53, 54 years. I was blessed to start the Association of Black Students and been involved with the university in some form or fashion during all of those years. I guess the first thing I want to say is W. Roy has been an excellent president, and he set the bar very high relative to who will follow behind him. One of the things that I learned as president of the Association of Black Students, I work very closely with President Keese. And he understood the times. He understood the turmoil that was happening in the city, but he also understood the dynamics of the students. So one of the things that I want to suggest, just have two suggestions. One of the things I want to suggest is that our next president understands the dynamics of working with students, working with black students, if you will. It's a black student organization here, and from time to time, it will need some guidance, it will need some input and some direction. Not necessarily pushback, but to listen to what is being said from their perspective. The second thing I want to talk about briefly is community outreach. Wayne State University is in the heart of the city of Detroit. It is an urban university. I know Stacy Clayton and some of her folks are working on some outreach programs for the city of Detroit. But my vision, since the length of time I've been here, is that I see Wayne State being the university that educates Detroit. And I don't think you should be bashful in that. I think that that's our strength. Play to our strength. And that does not mean that you don't recruit other students, nationwide and internationally. But the core of the city of Detroit needs a university that reaches out and continues to reach out and help the city move forward. Wayne State has the intellectual ability to move this great city forward. I've been blessed. I've gotten 2 degrees from Wayne State University. So I know a little bit about the history. So finally, I want to be able to say that the next president must be multitasking. He got to walk and chew gum at the same time. And he's got to have, and I should say, or she has got to have the tentacles into the community. I would recommend that the next president have a deep relationship with the ecumenical community. The church is very important in the city of Detroit. So he or she must be able to interact with those power bases. So I thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to the next level at Wayne State University. Like I said, I've grown old at this university, but I've been blessed too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Reyes-Kopak, and I have been a student here at Wayne State University in 1971 and graduated. I attended UD Law School, and I came from immigrant parents, both from Mexico. And I was very fortunate when I came here because at that time, the president of the university had a vision to outreach to the Latino community. And he did a very good job because he had a core group of people that continue to this day to be a viable leadership component, not only of the city of Detroit, but in corporate America, in the legal profession, and also in the judiciary, which is wonderful. I've had the pleasure to have a lot of leadership positions, like with Stacy Clayton. We served on the Michigan Civil Rights Commission together and did a lot of work there with Shirley Stancato from New Detroit when I sat on her board of directors. And after 30 years of working in the law field and practicing law from DTE to private practice to a small law firm in Livonia, I had the opportunity to retire and do something different with my life. And I landed as the Government Affairs and Community Relations person at the Mechanical Contractors Association, and we represent over 200 contractors. Mind you, that is not a very diverse industry. So one of my main missions was to try and diversify it, to outreach, to do different workshops, to have different career days, and this is actually National Apprentice Week. And to see more apprentices come in because it's a very lucrative area. I also had the opportunity to work with former Council President Brenda Jones, who advocated skilled trades. And she did it continuously, at least for the 10 years that I've been working in this industry. And I would urge that the next president of this university have a vision to be inclusive, not only of the urban area, but the Latino area, the Arab American area, and many other people that are first-generation immigrants. And I think that the collaboration between the different communities, as you see it evolving now, really points to the political power that really lies in the hands of underrepresented people, including women in the profession that I'm currently in. But, that person, like President Wilson, who we see served on the advisory committee, had this vision. And everywhere I went, I remember for the last 10 years, he was there. Either a political event, a community event. He always came to Latino department event. He was always very friendly, very accommodating, and also very inclusive of the people that he had in his advisory committees. I would strongly recommend that there be an advisory committee of that nature amongst the different communities, because each community is different in its needs and its evolvement. And I know we've been through a lot of issues with the Civil Rights Commission, and she understands a lot of this, so I give her a lot of credit for having all these community outreach events to give you some insight of what individual communities need. But we would need somebody that's not only the visionary, but a leader that's going to work with corporate America, with the construction industry, and also with Dr. Wilson. We advised him that he should really look at the internal organizational structure of Wayne State University and strategic planning to see how all the contracts are awarded to different factions of the diverse community. Because if the contracts from major universities, major institutions are not equitable, you're not really giving, education is just one part and one component of the overall strategic plan to bring a level playing field to people's movement of the economic ladder. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
There you go. So my name's Kyle Walagore. I am a senior at Wayne State University studying business management and global supply chain management. So I'll be graduating in May, and then, I'm sorry. There we go. So my name's Kyle Walagore. I'm a senior at Wayne State University studying business management and global supply chain management. And I'm very excited to be part of the alumni group coming in May when I graduate. So I'm very excited for that. Three things I want to touch on today that I believe that is very important for the next president of Wayne State University. First part is supporting the arts. Right now we have the new Hillberry Theater coming up very soon, and then the old Hillberry is going to be the Gretchen Valet Jazz Center. So as a member of the marching band, as a member of working with the concert band as well, I think supporting the arts is very important to our community, because sure, we have athletics, which is very important to our university as well, but sometimes, as myself, I'm not really the athletics that's going to play football at college, and being a lover of music, that's very important, and I think that's a great population of our community that people tend to not notice a lot as much. Additionally is community and school engagement. President Wilson has done an amazing job interacting with students, being at events, football games, basketball games, et cetera, and I would like to see that continue with our next president. Use the example from the university in Ann Arbor, University of Michigan, with their new president. As someone that has friends that go to the U of M, they say that their president has so much in community engagement. I would like to see someone of that caliber come to Wayne State, because I think that's very important to our students as well as our community. Third and finally, I'd like to, as a business major, someone who has a business background as well as the medical background as well sometimes, because bringing in partnerships is very important to an institution. Think of, it's, of course, as a nonprofit, as a school, we want to bring the best high caliber programs in our university. So like say, bringing partnerships like Mike Illich with the Mike Illich School of Business, now bringing in Carmanos with the new medical school that I believe is coming very soon with that grant from the state of Michigan. I think it's important that we bring in these partnerships, because partnerships brings more impact to our university as well as the community as a whole. So other than that, thanks again for allowing me to speak, and thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Hello. My name is Stephen Spur. I'm a professor of economics, and I came here. Oh, I came here in 1987, so I've been here 35 years. And I would like to say something that I don't think is at all controversial, but I'm saying it because I have heard one voice in a rather high administrative position make a suggestion that's in conflict with this idea. And my idea is that Wayne State should be a center of academic excellence. And I think this is an opinion that's been shared by every president here, from David Adamany to President Wilson. And that's been their continual objective. There is this administrator that I'm referring to, and I'm not going to name the person because I'm more concerned about the message than the messenger. The idea that this person has is that we often have students who are first generation. 40% of our students, according to this person, come from community college, and therefore we should sort of back off offering challenging courses. We should offer relatively unchallenging courses and give out lots of A's and B's, and that way we will increase our enrollment. I think this is the exact opposite of what we should do. I think this is absolutely destructive of the mission of Wayne State University. What this person has said is that, quote, we're not the University of Michigan. And I totally reject that approach. When this person says we're not the University of Michigan, the subtext is that we shouldn't try to compete with them. And I think we should and we must compete with them. And if we achieve our goals of academic excellence, if we continue to be on that path, that will increase our enrollment in the long run. And the idea that we can somehow increase our enrollment by sort of watering down our courses, I think is absolutely the wrong direction. And so that's really my major point here. I guess the other thing I would point out is that if in the course of developing, improving departments and increasing our reputation, there may be some resistance, and presidents from David Adamany to President Wilson have encountered resistance, and I think we need somebody who has the courage that they have had in dealing with this sort of blowback and resistance. So that's really, what it's all about is continuing the tradition of academic excellence here and pushing it further. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, Stacy Clayton, always thank you for reaching out and sharing. Where Stacy tells me to go, I show up. She never leads me wrong, and I've known her a very long time, very proud of her. Also, my name is Sharon Banks. I'm an alum, and very proudly from the School of Business Administration many, many years ago. So long ago that I was a member of Reverend Peake's Black Student Organization and received an award. And I'm real bullish on Wayne State University. This is my university, and I wear it proudly. I am on the Board of Visitors with the Communications and Performing Arts School, and we just had the announcement of our new dean. I was served on his search committee. I have been a lifelong Detroiter, born and raised, and Wayne State, I came from a family like many people that my parents said, well, yes, okay, you graduated from high school. Good. We can't afford to send you to college, but you're going, so figure it out. And so the challenge was launched, and Wayne State University was here. And I'm very pleased to say at a time when I took the bus to get to Wayne State University. That's how far back I go. I didn't have a car. I always remembered that the welcome mat was always at the door, and the door was always open. So as I work with Board of Visitors, I work with the Detroit Jazz Festival and the Gretchen Village Center that proudly is coming online here not too long, being involved in many of the opportunities that I've sat at the advisory desk of President Wilson. I am wanting to ensure that our community really embraces our new president. It will be important. I agree with everything that's been said, so I don't have to restate it. But the opportunity for the new president to earn the right to be here means that we will also be engaged to support our new president with whatever it is and whatever capacity that we're in. So that's what I would be interested in continuing to do, to serve in any capacity that I can, because this is our university. And U of M, Michigan State, Western, we all, yeah, this is our university. So with that in mind, I welcome the opportunity to be here tonight. I feel honored to participate in this process and continue to keep us engaged, because sometimes engagement can fall off after a while. Just keep us involved. Let us know how things are going, and let us know how we can, again, participate, because we have as much of a responsibility as the president that we bring on to serve the student body, the city of Detroit, our communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maria Franklin, and I too show up when Stacy summons. And I am a Detroit native, born and mostly raised in Detroit. I am a two-time Wayne State graduate, undergraduate degree, and also a master's degree from the Mike Ilitch School of Business. And I am the product of two generations of family on government assistance. I am a first generation college graduate, and I have served in the city of Detroit youth for close to 2 decades now. And story that I want to leave with you and for the candidates that are going to be considered for this role is stories that I've seen with interacting with the youth in the city of Detroit in the high schools. There are a number of barriers that they face, incredible obstacles that they have to overcome before they arrive to the university. And the person who takes this seat should understand the dynamics of the challenges that the community faces, be able to help remove some of those barriers or provide wraparound services and supports that allow them to enter the university, stay in the university, graduate with a marketable degree that aligns them to internships, to executive level networking and relationships that leads to jobs, that allows them to have financial freedom and pull them essentially out of poverty. We live in a very challenging city. The crime rates are high. The literacy rates are low. And so a university president that understands the importance of K through 12 education and support is important as well. With 80 to 90% of our kids not meeting reading at grade level by 3rd grade, that is a huge problem. But it's one that we can face together through strategic partnerships, like youth organizations. There are over 150 of them in the city of Detroit that are breeding Detroit leaders in high school and younger, and that are working to align to tutoring for our kids so that they can take advantage of the scholarships that are supposedly available to them. So I actually was a recipient of a Compact Scholarship, which is a 4-year tuition paid scholarship when I went to undergraduate school through Cass Technical High School, and statistically, less than 20% of my peers were eligible for that scholarship. And so a university president that understands that dynamic, that can capture more of and realize more of the potential that exists in the city and see students for more than just GPAs, understand that they have complex lives that they're dealing with, but that they also have unrealized potential that we can tap with the right supports. So let's see if there was anything. So I think that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who's next? You can, of course. Of course.
What I mentioned about Bill Keith's understanding the nature of the times. Okay, I was a black student president, so I was the hellraiser, and he was the president of the college. But he and I communicated. We understood each one of our roles. So one day I says, Dr. Keith, what do you think about sending some of us to the West Coast to do an examination of the different Black Studies programs? Because that was when Black Studies was really percolating. So what he said is, all right, Lonnie, bring me a budget tomorrow. Whoa. So we worked on a budget, gave it to him. He sent 5 of us. We spent a week going up and down the coast to the different colleges. We came back to him, gave a recommendation of what Wayne State should do. Well, eventually that morphed into the Africana Studies program. So I'm saying that based upon his insight and understanding of the times, he created something historical. So our next president, he or she, should come with the understanding of creating something historical for this university. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, right, right.
I'm Stephen Calkins on the faculty at the law school, and I wanted to thank you for listening tonight. I wanted to thank the committee members in the audience for listening tonight, and thank the committee members especially for being willing to serve. There's nothing more important than the selection of the new president for Wayne State, and so I'm delighted that you're willing to work on it. I'm delighted that the board is taking it so seriously. It's certainly a crucial mission. Realistically, my own view is that Wayne State is facing some really significant challenges, and one can't just say carry on the way that we're going. Between the medical school, obviously, we're talking a challenge. It's constantly a worry on whether or not we would lose our Carnegie 1 classification and change sort of the basic idea of who we are. Money, we may be in okay shape for this year, maybe next year, but over the coming years, between the declining number of high school graduates in Michigan, and then the fundraising challenges in the world, money is an issue, and so we need to have a president that can help us address that. And I think that matters a great deal. And then finally, something that has really not been able to be overcome has been the challenge of building an improved national and regional reputation for Wayne State University. We're a great Detroit institution. We have a great role in Detroit, but it helps to recruit faculty. It helps to recruit students. It helps to recruit Detroit students to be a school that has a good reputation in the wider region. So people are going to a school that they can be proud of, not just here, but knowing that if they go to Arizona or California or wherever, that it will be known. And that's always been a challenge. So there's serious challenges. So then you go to the characteristics of a new president, and you go online and you Google it, and there are a million articles on what's the right characteristics of a university president. Indeed, there's a Whit Kiefer article on 6 qualities to look for in a university president. And then there's a Whit Kiefer article on 7 more qualities to look for in a university president. So you can get a list as long as you want. I just thought a little bit about what I would urge you to think about and to emphasize. And those would be 4. 1, understanding and appreciating the core mission of the university, teaching and scholarship. Somebody who understands what first-class scholarship is and why it's so important and why it really matters, who understands what quality teaching is and appreciates it. But both of those, and somebody who really has a feel for the academic enterprise, that I would say is crucial. Next, in the modern world, you really need a president, in my view, who is comfortable with data and analytics. If you don't know data and numbers, you're just lost. I just came back from a weekend at Yale where I have a role, and a member of their board of governors was asked how they judge what they're doing, and he immediately answered, look, we have a number of tasks, and he went through several, but he said, one of the things that we do is that we have a series of metrics, and we look at those metrics, and you need a president who is comfortable with numbers and can look at numbers and monitor the procedure and keep track of things and make decisions. So comfort with data and analytics. Third, this isn't said so specifically in most of these lists, but I take from some of them, and I believe strongly that you want somebody who can write well. My view is that if somebody cannot write well, they really cannot think well, and they cannot communicate well. And a lot of what a president does is communicating, including by writing, and you ought to have somebody who's just an excellent writer. But then last, I think I was talking about what makes Peter Salovey an effective president of Yale, even though he's not the most charismatic person in the world, and there has some detractors, but he's been very successful. And the answer from some people who work with him was that he really likes and engages well with people. He likes talking to students. He likes talking to alums. When he's at an event, he's not rushing to the next event to get to it. He likes talking to people. He came and gave an award, and he was delighted for me to come up and criticize him for something he'd said in a speech earlier in the day. He likes talking to people, and that's part of leadership. It's part of fundraising. It's part of communicating among the people on the team and having somebody who likes people. Variation on the same theme, you can see people talking about the importance of empathy, of understanding people, and indeed one of the speeches on good presidential leadership referred to Teddy Roosevelt, saying he never would have become president had he not gone out to North Dakota and spent time out there with farmers and ranchers and ordinary people. Well, a place like Wayne State, you want somebody who can understand and get along with people from all walks of life, because we're going to have students, we're going to have alums, we're going to have community members from all walks of life, but having somebody who can understand people and who likes being with people seems to me an important attribute for a president. But most, thank you for all that you're doing and for all that you will be doing. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you very much. President Jones, we were not going to leave without hearing from you, and so I'm glad you got up and came forward.
First of all, let me say good evening to everyone, all of you all, as well as everyone that's here this evening, because this is such an important matter that you are dealing with and facing right now. Let me first also commend the president, the outgoing president, and his first lady. I have to commend both of them who have done outstanding jobs. You know, as I sat there and I listened, and I'm going to say a lot of what everyone else has said, but one of the first things I want to say that I think is so important is that whomever the president is, they understand that this is Detroit. And Detroit is a different apple, a different orange from every other municipality, every other state. And they're going to have to understand that. And I'm sure all of you can say that in the lives that you've lived in and dealing in the city of Detroit. So that's the first thing I think that's going to be an important thing that they're going to have to understand. Listen to the gentleman talk, and I was sitting there thinking and saying to myself, the person almost have to have a degree in psychology and understanding and listening to people. And I say that because I've had so many of Wayne State students talk to me about President Wilson and how they would see him in the school center building and he would just stop and talk to them. And whatever they talked to them about, it almost seems as if he could relate to whatever it was they were saying. And so they're going to have to be a person who understands that they're going to have to be able to relate to not just the board, but also to not just the faculty, but also to the students, to the community, not just the community around here, but the community as a whole, all of the community. And I heard people talk about faith-based, but in this city, you ought to be able to communicate and deal with the political community as well, because I can tell you the political community can make or break whatever you're trying to do. And I think that's something that they're going to have to understand and also be willing to meet and interact with different people and not be stuck in a box. I also think it's going to be important that whomever is the president, and I hate to say this, but you guys probably know this, you need to talk to their spouse, because their spouse is going to play a very big role in whether or not they're successful or not successful. Your spouse can make or break you and the job that you're doing. And it's not going to be an 8-hour job when they first get here. And it may not be an 8-hour job for a long time. And their spouse is going to have to understand that. And sometimes the spouse don't understand. So that's going to be something that's going to be very important. I heard Dr. Reverend Peake talk about diversity, and diversity in all of the schools at Wayne State is going to be very important. And what comes to mind is Wayne State Medical School. And my niece is a doctor, and she graduated with honors from Renaissance. As a matter of fact, she was salutatorian of Renaissance. And I talked to her about going to Wayne State, and she knew she wanted to be a doctor. And one of the things that she said to me was, Wayne State does not like to admit African Americans in their medical school. And I know a lot of things has changed since President Wilson has been here, but they need to continue to change, because right now we're dealing with diversity a whole lot. And not just diversity with African Americans, but diversity all the way across the border is going to be something that's going to be very important. So I had some other notes, and you guys know politicians can talk forever. And I'm not going to do that, but I just want to thank you all again for having this session, because it is so very important. And thank you for the job that you have ahead of you, that you're going to do an awesome, good job at. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate that. Well, there must be someone else. Summoning up your bravery? No? Let me introduce two more people to you. Dr. Vaibhan Daiwadkar is a member of our search committee representing our research community, which is as you know, very important part of Wayne State. And Rebecca Jornigan does an awful lot of the work to make everything that we've begun doing come together, including working with our co-hosts on this listening tour. Now, I'm filibustering a little bit, just in case anyone else wants to. All right. So feel free to look at your meeting, and if you made comments, your comments on the website. Again, we'll make all of that available to candidates. We check the email daily. So if you're talking to someone in the future that said, oh gee, I missed my chance, the listening tours may be over, I would say two things. One, we'd love to have their comments on the email. There's also a way to send comments through the website. And I'm sure I speak for the other three board members that are on the search committee, that if there continues to be interest in involvement in these listening events, we can certainly do another one. And Susan and I actually have been talking about an abbreviated one on Zoom for some other of your folks, foundation folks. Do any of the other board members have anything you'd like to add?
That we stay engaged. So let's assume you get like 5 candidates. Is there a way for that you guys present them, and the faculty and people like us can kind of get a feeling of these people? Are you planning to do that, or is this going to be like these guys give you 5 names and you guys pick somebody and say that's who it is?
Yeah, just draw the number out of the hat. So we talk a lot about how to handle the end of this process. And we have to balance candidates' desire, sometimes a very strong desire for confidentiality, with the type of request you've just made. And we're working on trying to figure out how to do that. Some universities have held meetings not with the candidate, but with the search committee, and without giving you a candidate's name, we give you all of the bio information, our what we gathered from the interviews with them, and in that way try to expose you. It's possible that it could be a more open process. It will depend on the 1, 2, 3, 4, Lord, I hope it's not more than 5 very serious candidates at the end and their wishes. If, for example, we have 2 or 3 candidates who say confidentiality is not that big of an issue, my current employer knows I'm looking, that would take away the concern there. And then we could be much more open. So we're very aware of it. A couple members on the committee are actually proponents of what you've suggested. So I'm hedging a bit because we haven't really decided just how to do that. But we're very aware that that would be beneficial, not only for folks here, I think, who work at Wayne and are part of Wayne's family, but that may also be beneficial to the candidates as well. So we'll work through, I can guarantee you this, we'll work through that in the best way that we can, and we understand, and there will be voices through this process for what you're asking for, yeah. Yes,
Curious,
please.
as the process of identifying the candidates, does that include them having tours and interactions with our cultural jewels that are here, our community colleges, the other counties surrounding us, the urban community, of course, and other areas that are feeders into Wayne State University? Is that part of the system? We take them to the DIA, we take them to the Charles Wright, we take them to our Southwest Detroit gyms, we take them to the Arab American museums, wherever it is, the Holocaust Museum, so that they get a real sense of the Detroit metropolitan area. Is that part of the search process?
We will have campus visits with some number of finalists, and they do have some opportunity to get about town. You didn't mention restaurants,
That's a biggie.
my favorite. So the way you've asked the question was much more broad. They don't have time to do all of those things, but we do some of that, yes.
Okay.
And the finalists do actually come to campus because it's important they see us, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. So just a little bit more of this. The search committee itself will work with the search firm to finalize this process. We would like to get the solicitation and the advertising and the word out across the country as soon as we can. I was hoping to do it before the holiday break, but we may bleed over into January, but we can't do it any later than January. The search firm will collect all of the responses from potential candidates. They'll, generally what happens, and again, this will be up to the search committee working with the advice of the firm, but generally what happens is they'll first present us with two piles of candidates, so to speak. I think it'll be important to me, and I think it'll be important to most members of the committee. We want to see both piles. We don't want the search firm to make that first cut decision for us, but we're willing, of course, to take their advice and some direction on that. So we'll look through that. We'll end up with, generally speaking, we expect to end up with 1 to 2 dozen more serious candidates, and we may be interviewing that many. We'll interview at least a dozen. I expect it'll be between 1 and 2 dozen. Again, this will all matter, this will all be decided in part by who responds, right? How many and how good and how competitive they all are. We will try to work that down, of course, we must, to some smaller number. If 5 was mentioned, that'd be great. And then those will have a second interview and very likely those campus tours we were talking about. Now, I'm not wedded to those numbers, but I am, of course, for this process to work, wedded to that winnowing down, and as time goes by, you're having a smaller, more exact group culminating with about May 1st. Yes, yes. We're on the informal discussion part of the meeting now, so.
So regarding the confidentiality, I appreciate that, people apply and don't want to know because then they destroy the relationship. Now, the problem is that if you want to do a good job, so you get the candidates, that looks great, thing. The smart way is to do your homework. You go to the place and talk to some people who you interacted with in the home institution. Now, if the guy said, oh, it's confidential, nobody can know, now you are stuck. Because if I would hire somebody, I'm going to talk to somebody who actually knows that, who worked with him for years. Not somebody who says, oh, this guy is great because we want to get rid of him or he's self-promoting. And, I understand, but this is going to be difficult if you, play this confidentiality card. So I would expect that if you get the top 3 candidates, you actually do a little bit more than just kind of read the CVs. Just go and talk to some people on the floor and you do some research. So I hope this is going to be done.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no. Yep, exactly right. Yep.
So do you think there would be a chance that we could possibly have like a forum with the candidates coming? So like back when we did deans for the business school, there was, it wasn't really advertised as much to like the student body, but there was like forums like in our Lear auditorium, so we can ask questions and like the committee, part of the committee would be listening in on that, but that gives us the opportunity. So I was wondering if there was a possibility that we could possibly make that happen.
Yeah, there's a possibility. One thing I didn't mention is if we get to a finalist before we offer him or her the position, that would also be a time for them to come and take that confidentiality off and meet people for what would amount to a final step in the interview process.
Yeah, it'd be like a round table-ish kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Well, I'll filibuster one more moment by thanking you all very much again for your time and being with us this evening. Thanks to the law school for hosting. This is a beautiful facility. I wanted to sit up there, but Susan Burns said I should not. Again, I've personally, and I think I'm speaking for the other board members who have attended the other listening sessions, we have found this very valuable. We appreciate your comments, and having folks from the community has been huge. It really has. The other ones, as I mentioned, were I think almost all students or actually employees. So it's been very good. Stacy, thank you for having folks from the community here. And again, feel free to use that website or email address, and we're putting, to give us any further thoughts. We're putting out a press release saying that this process has started, so hopefully we'll generate even more interest over the next few weeks, and I look forward to working with you to finish this process successfully. It's a big responsibility. I assure you, we feel that. Any last comments? Great. Well, feel free to grab a plate of food on the way out. Maybe we can work on the cookies?
Cookies.
Okay.
Chocolate chip.
Okay. All right. Thank you all very, very much for coming tonight.